Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hopefully you're having an amazing day. Granite Ridge, of course, which is being powered by the Zen 5 microprocessor architecture, is easily one of the most hyped and anticipated product launches for this year. And there's no shortage of products which we could get hyped about, but Zen 5 really is making the internet just go absolutely crazy at the moment. And I think one of the big reasons, of course, for that is that the IPC gains and performance gains that we've been hearing are all over the place, but no matter which way you slice it, they all seem to be pretty damn good. As you probably guessed from the video title, I've been hearing some very interesting things concerning Zen 5, and basically a lot of this stems from the fact that AMD are now starting to send out Turin, which is the server variant of Zen 5, and the too long didn't read here is that numbers now are starting to go to some people, and I've spoken to a couple of these folks. Now, I want to be very clear, this information could be wrong, however, this info from a couple of sources, they are generally pretty damn accurate. And the best way of putting the performance numbers that I'm about to go through with you guys is mind-blowing. This is going to make Intel really uncomfortable. And that's not to say Arrow Lake and other products across, let's say, server or whatever are bad. It's just, if these numbers are true, Zen 5 is just... holy crap. Anyway, enough talk. Let's just get into this, shall we, after this message from the video's sponsor. Combo Cleaner offers real-time protection for free, and while the ANSANE ransomware features are locked behind a paywall, you can actually add protected folders for free. This means that those files in those folders can be shielded from being held to ransom by ransomware. This, of course, is perfect for keeping family photos, work projects, as well as just files that you really just don't want to lose access to, protected at all times. Of course, there is also the ability to whitelist applications with just a few clicks. Naturally, sometimes false flags can happen, and it's easy to remedy with just a couple of clicks, you're good to go. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Combo Cleaner just doesn't protect you against malware and viruses, but also offers you ability to clear up junk. I found it surprisingly quick for finding duplicate files, and out of around 100 gigabytes that I actually scanned, I clawed back around 5 gigabytes, which isn't too shabby given it's just disk space that ultimately was just being used by, well, again, duplicate files. As well as protection for Windows, Combo Cleaner can also be installed in iPhones, Macs, as well as Android. So if you want to delete a ton of duplicate files and just clear up all of those cat memes, as well as keep your phone protected from malware, etc., then Combo Cleaner is a perfect solution. If you want to save yourself an absolutely massive 80% for either the 6 or 12-month plan, you can use our coupon code, which is REDGAMING80. You can see it, of course, on screen, and you can find a link in the video description. You can also use the QR code, which of course has also popped up on screen, and again, you can save yourself 80% by typing in the coupon code REDGAMING80 and help support the channel, and of course protect your mobile or Windows device. Thanks again to Combo Cleaner for sponsoring the video. So let's begin with official information from the CEO of AMD, Lisa Su. This stands us in pretty good stead for the rest of the video. I won't spend too long going over these comments, and you can read them on screen, but basically she reaffirmed that Turin, which of course is going to be made using the Zen 5 architecture, and it will be for EPYC, which of course are server processors, they will launch in the second half of this year. Furthermore, she also confirmed details about Strix Point is going to launch this year as well, which of course is Zen 5 based, and also utilizing the RDNA 3.5 architecture. They also go ahead and, reference some stuff on the PC space, etc., etc. Now, what I basically did is spoke to a couple of sources, and I'm being told that Zen 5 is probably going to be revealed at Computex. There's no real big surprise there. I was always a little skeptical about April, but yeah, the updated information I have is Computex. Now, I will add as a bit of a bonus, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the video. I'm just adding it in here because, well, I don't really know if I want to make a video specifically on this. I've been hearing some very contrary information regarding RDNA 5. RDNA 4, RDNA 4. A lot of folks were telling me that Computex is going to be the date that we see RDNA 4, but now I've spoken to two really good sources one actually on the phone, and obviously I can't give any hints who they are or anything, but one of them is absolutely adamant it is not going to be a Computex for RDNA 4. Now, I don't know, honestly. I've, again, heard a lot of mixed things on that, but I'm just going to tell you guys what it is, and hopefully I can provide more clarity pretty soon. But anyway, let's just get back to the point, shall we? Now, you may recall some official slides from AMD. I believe these date back to last year, so that's 2023. And they state that the design is basically a ground-up one, and there are 3 bullet points. Now, obviously, there are a lot more than 3 changes and 3 bullet points, but they're just giving you, at this point, you know, enough to wet your whistle. Enhanced performance and efficiency, which kind of goes without saying. I mean, you wouldn't release a new processor and then not have at least one of those things ideally be true. A re-pipelined front end and wider issue, integrated AI and machine learning optimizations. As far as I understand it, in this case, they're talking about AVX specific instructions. I'll get more into that later on. Now, from general leaks and information we know about, the following is true regarding Granite Ridge. So again, this is in reference to the Ryzen customer-focused processors. Some of this stuff will not be even slightly, you know, in relation to EPYC. But basically, the CPUs are still going to go up to 16 cores, 32 threads. Officially, it's been confirmed that we will see these on the AM5 platform. Obviously, eventually we will see X3D variants, but they are going to launch later. The IOD seems to be a refinement of the one found in Zen 4. Maybe this has changed, but that's what I'm hearing so far. The only difference is it is a refinement, so it can probably support faster memory, and the CCDs will basically still be 8 cores. So if you put 2 CCDs together, which are 8, obviously, using complicated maths, we get 16. Now, let's get to the IPC, because this is where things start to get more juicy. I have heard a staggering number of IPC claims for Zen 5. They range from decent, you know, something that you would be like, oh, okay, that's not too bad, to what the hell. Now, to give credit to Moore's Law is dead, Tom, he did leak a slide, and you can see it on screen, and it hints that there's 10-15% improvement. Now, it also confirms some older details I'd leaked before he put this slide out regarding wider decoders and other bits and pieces, but let's just focus, ignore the architectural stuff for now, and let's just really talk about IPC. Now, the thing is, I spoke to multiple sources, and several of them have all come back to me and told me that this is definitely an official slide. It is not a BS slide, it is definitely true. However, I'm still being told that the figure by some of these same people who tell me it's an official slide is not true, which honestly, it short circuits my brain. Like when I hear something like that, it's like if I see the color green on grass and you tell me this is actually, you know, red, and I'm like, what do you mean it's red? And it like just why? And anyway. I managed to find out that it was a spec int result, and from multiple sources I was told that the workloads can get higher in mixed workloads. Now, honestly, I was still at this point pretty skeptical, because 15% is still very good for an architectural upgrade. Now, there definitely have been improvements from one generation to another, which are higher than that from AMD and Intel. For example, you can look at the original Zen. If you compare it to FX range, it was like, what, 52% faster IPC? And then, of course, Intel have a plethora of CPU improvements. You've got, you know, Sandy Bridge and blah, blah, blah. And even more recently from AMD, like Zen 2 to 3 was, what, like 19% or something like that, which is pretty damn impressive. And anyway, I don't know. I was still quite skeptical. Multiple sources, however, that I trusted, they were still telling me that the number they were hearing was a minimum of 20% on average workloads. Now, the reason I keep stressing average is, again, different workloads can tax the system in different ways. So if you're only testing, let's say, some like integer-based workload with very small data sets, like absolutely tiny, and everything can not, you know, it's not like, you know, going to the main system memory that much. It's going to be very different from if it's like a very heavy massive set of data, and you're like leveraging AVX instructions, etc, etc, etc. And that's to say nothing of game workloads, which can be very latency sensitive, for example, especially if you're dealing with multiple CCDs. And this is a big improvement, of course, we saw from Zen 1 to Zen 2. So I decided anyway, because I was hearing that these Turing test chips are now being tested by different people. Now, I reached out to someone, and I really want to stress to you guys that this information can be wrong. And frankly, I still have some level of skepticism, despite the fact that someone else told me these numbers are probably true. So just to confirm what I said there, I'm still skeptical about these numbers because they're so impressively, insanely high. However, after one source told me about it, a second source told me that they believe these numbers are correct. I, however, am also going to do what my source asked, and I'm going to deliberately not give the exact numbers. I'm being asked, to be very clear here, to purposefully slightly get the numbers wrong. And this is just simply because some of this information is pretty new, and it could be quite easy to track down specific quotes. So there are some things I'm going to have to admit. I'm really sorry. I wish I could tell you guys the exact things I was told, but I don't want to get anyone in trouble. At the end of the day, this is just a fun, goofy YouTube video. And you know what, I'd rather a bit of information be incorrect or whatever than get someone in real life in trouble with like a contract or whatever. It's just not worth it. With that said, I am being told that the performance is over, I want to stress that word, over 30% on average. There is a caveat, I'll get to that in a second, but I'm told as well that single thread results, Intel, and this is the only time I'm ever going to use an exact word or quote, Intel are going to get murdered. Things will get closer, however, in single thread. Now, interestingly, this does kind of match what a source told me several months ago, so last year, I think midpoint of last year. And they basically told me that AMD were looking to make a processor which would focus on offering the single fastest single thread performance they can. Now, I want to add a bit more information here, but I was told basically that if you look at Intel's Gracemont, you can kind of get some ideas of the similarities of how multiple streams of instructions/data are handled by Zen 5. Now, I want to be very clear, I'm not directly comparing the chips. They are not copy and paste. It's just more of a basis for you to go off of. I'm also told that the information Adored TV leaked regarding the Ladder L3 cache, according to this source anyway, is correct. However, I've only ever managed to get that information confirmed by this one source. And the other source I asked regarding whether they've heard anything about this IPC information, they told me they do not know about this ladder cache. They don't know either way. Adored has a pretty good track record with leaks. I'm going to leave it to you guys on that one. I don't know. What I will also tell you is, well, what about real-world performance? For Turing, and I stress the word Turing, this is not Ryzen. And that's very important because Turing has a 500 watt power draw. That's 100 watts more than Genoa. And again, this is performance, this is not IPC. So this is taking into consideration the IPC gain, but also clocks and other things as well. But anyway, I was told that a 96 core Turing is 1.4 times faster, so to put it another way, over 40% faster than Genoa. However, I was also told that, and this is perhaps the most amazing thing, that these results will probably improve. Now, I'm not exactly sure why they will improve. I'm told that the numbers are quite early, so it's possible that these are early engineering samples, which perhaps are not hitting the appropriate clocks. Maybe they're 10, 20% out. I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers out there. Maybe there's an issue with the BIOS. Maybe the memory is not running as it should. So maybe there's an issue with like the memory controller, and some of the memory channels weren't working. Whatever. All I know is that's what I was told. I'm also hearing, though, that Zen 5's architecture may benefit servers more for the IPC. So it's possible that the desktop will be slightly worse off. Lastly, I want to add that for Granite Ridge, the clocks I'm hearing are quite pleasant. Now, initially, I was hearing that there's probably going to be some type of clock frequency regression. Again, this is for the Ryzen processors I'm referring to here, because they're still running at the same wattage basically as Zen 4. And AMD initially believed that there was a possibility that they may need to reduce the clocks a little bit. How much? Well, they weren't exactly sure, but I was hearing figures between 100 to 200 megahertz was probably the figure that we would see. So if you saw a processor running at 5.7 gigahertz on average or whatever, you could just shave like 100 or 200 megahertz off. But I'm now being told that this is probably not going to happen, and there's going to be no regression. So that is absolutely a Christmas miracle, if that is true. Anyway, guys, hopefully you have enjoyed the video. What I'll say to you is that the numbers that I was hearing from these sources are just absolutely mind-blowing. Now, personally, I don't want to say I'm pessimistic, but I'm still going to just say internally that I suspect it's going to be around 15%, 20%. I would love these numbers to be true, though. And that's not to say that I'm not confident in the sources. It's just that these numbers are so ridiculously high. They are absolutely absurd. And you know what? If they are true, it's going to be absolutely... It's going to be super intriguing to see what happens in terms of pricing. From AMD themselves, of course, but also Intel. I recently leaked Bartlett Lake, and now others on Twitter are talking about it as well, and it seems like that information is true. Unfortunately, I still cannot get a SKU list for you guys. But yeah, obviously Zen 4 in terms of the AM4 platform, I'm sorry, Zen 3 in terms of the AM4 platform is going to be potentially still more intriguing for a lot of folks than what Bartlett Lake is. In terms of a DIY solution for OEMs, there's still a lot of viability from Intel. So I suspect they're still going to sell a lot of volume, but for the DIY market as well as server, it's going to be very interesting. Also, one small last little tidbit for those of you who did stick around this long into the video. I also was asking a little bit about Zen 6. Now, I didn't get a ton of new information, and honestly, I'll probably put out a new video soon-ish going over what I have learned about Zen 6, but one thing this person did tell me pretty much is confirming some of the older info that I put out, and that is that there are multiple changes across the CCDs. So basically, the latency, as in like if you have like 2 CCDs, it's drastically reduced, as well as the actual intercore latencies in that specific CCD. So let's say you have CCD 0 and 1, or A and B, whatever you want to say. The latency of A talking to B is drastically reduced, like massively reduced. But secondly, if you're talking about like a set of cores which are in like CCD A, and they're talking to another set of cores, like, you know, sending crap from like one set of caches to the other or whatever, like let's say L2 cache wants to go to, you know, be executed by another CPU core, that is also reduced as well. And this is basically down to the packaging changes. I'm hearing that there are a lot of similarities in terms of packaging from N31, and also Sarlacc, which of course is the Halo SKU for Strix Point. Sorry, it's been a long day. My brain's a bit blank right now on codenames. There are a lot of similarities. Basically, I don't want to say it's a test vehicle as in the only reason it's being built, but a lot of the packaging tech is going to be, like if you look at the packaging technology of Sarlacc, when it's finally announced, of course, you're going to get a kind of a decent, obviously not a one-to-one, but at least some insight into, you know, what AMD are doing. So that's just a little bit of bonus crap for you. With that said, take care of yourselves, have an amazing day. Bye for now.